please. President Patrice Talon met with members of the government and the trade union confederations. The Ministry of Social Affairs organized an event to celebrate people with disabilities. Well, hello and good day to all tuning into Golfe TV Africa. Welcome. I'm Metohuey ADOGLOThursdaydecember. Welcome to Thursday's edition of the 1 p.m. English News, coming to you live from our studios here in Cotonou City. Now, as usual, we kick off the stories with stories coming in from the national territory. Now, let's tell you, on the sidelines of the International Day of December 3rd, which celebrates people with disabilities, this Tuesday, December 6th, 2022, the Ministry of Social Affairs organized an event to celebrate the Day for the Disabilities, World Day of Disabilities, in an official way in Benin. It was at the end at the Aya Community Center in Akpakpa to follow the event.
Official celebration of the International Day of Persons with Disabilities on Tuesday, December 6th at the Aya Community Center in Cotonou. For this 27th edition, whose global theme invites social inclusion of disabled people in Benin, this day was placed under the theme, Together, let's value the sports and artistic potential of disabled people. The Vice President of the Federation of Association of Disabled Persons of Benin gave an overview of the situation of disabled persons before inviting everyone to work so that this segment of the population is not discriminated against.
Aujourd'hui, malgré nos droits, tout ce que nous avions comme outils importants.
Despite all we can contribute, the handicaps of the world aren't exactly given the chances. Despite the laws set in place to offer parity, a lot has remained same. For us, today gives us the opportunity to solicit and advocate for a grand change for how we handicaps are seen. But I believe it is possible. Together we can make a better world for us all.
Aujourd'hui, c'est nous. Nous ne savons pas ce que demain ce serait fait. Donc, nous vous invitons ensemble que nous menons ce combat.
The president of the Beninese National Paralympic Committee, Abdelraham Aroubare, believes that sport is an enormous tool of inclusion for disabled people. He hopes that in the future, this day would no longer be celebrated, since by then social inclusion would have already been an achievement and a reality.
Mon souhait, c'est qu'on arrive un jour où on n'aura plus à fêter la journée internationale des personnes handicapées. Parce qu'on aura réussi l'inclusion de ces personnes-là.
There will arrive a day that we wouldn't need to celebrate this day, World Handicap Day, because we would have succeeded in the inclusion of handicaps properly into our society without bias. We will see handicaps achieving great results in our society, even in sports, with tremendous gifts and skills. Handicaps that can play basketball, handicaps that can lift heavy weights. Most people here can't even. What does this mean? It means they are handicaps capable of great deeds.
Devenir 75 kilos. Cela veut dire que le handicap n'est vraiment pas une fatalité. Ce que nous voulons, c'est qu'on nous adapte la société. Et le reste viendra.
Technical and financial partners, the mayor of Cotonou, and many other personalities attended the event. All this was done under the watchful eye of the Minister of Social Affairs and Microfinance, Veronique Tofode. In her speech, the minister invited each person to contribute as he or she can give opportunities to those people living with a disability.
Personnes handicapées, souvent stigmatisées, perçues comme dépendantes et exclues des secteurs productifs de l'économie car ne pouvant accéder à l'économie. Or, le handicap ne connaît pas de frontières.
Handicaps are usually stigmatized by society and are excluded from the productive sector and contributing to the economy, when in reality, handicaps have no borders. They can touch every layer of our community. It is thus a priority to contribute to this development. and an inclusion of handicaps into every layer of our society. Enterprises around the country, local, international, private, public, all have grand roles to play in this. This is their social responsibility. The manager of civil society, bosses of companies, communities, I urge you to activate the inclusion of handicaps into our society to give a collective response to this crisis.
De travail. J'exhorte également les conseils communaux à inverser les tendances de nos communes à exclure les personnes vivant avec un handicap de leur champ d'action.
The celebration ended with various demonstrations by Paralympic athletes, which left the people who came for the occasion speechless. Artistic performances were also part of the celebrations, to great applause from the public. It should be remembered that every 3rd December, the whole world celebrates people with disabilities.
Now, the long-awaited meeting between the President of the Republic, members of the government, and the Trade Union Confederation was held on Tuesday, December 6th, at the Marina Palace. The report of the Technical Committee was presented to the representatives of the CSA and the COSBNA, the CSTB, and the employers. The head of state, Patrice Talon, speaks in the following extract.
Nous étions promis de nous revoir en novembre. Mais le temps qu'on s'est donné pour rendre la copie n'a pas suffi. Mais mieux vaut tard que jamais.
We promised to meet again in November, but the time we set aside to review the situation was insufficient. However, as the saying goes, better late than never. We have all been caught up with the problems the world is facing. We should make sure that our own situation will not put us into trouble for long.
Faire le point, suggérer et présenter ce qui a été retenu, ce qu'il a été possible de retenir. Vous le soumettre, recevoir vos appréciations, vos suggestions et voir, nous espérons bien dans quelle mesure trouverons bien, soit un consensus avant de soumettre tout cela au grand jury de demain, mercredi, Conseil des ministres.
So we really had to do a lot of analysis to see how to improve the salaries, and we hope to find a consensus before submitting it to the grand jury of the cabinet meeting. You are fully aware that we all are, especially the members of the government, who have the heavy task of dealing with all our problems, including health, security, employment. But despite this, it is important that we also do what is necessary to improve the livelihood of everyone. We should mainly think about the reduction of poverty. There are some investments that are compulsory, or else our children and grandchildren will always share the same fate as us.
Il y a des investissements, si on ne les fait jamais, nos enfants, nos petits-enfants, nos arrière-petits-enfants vivront le même sort que nous. Une pauvreté sans fin. Malheureusement, c'est ce qui semble désormais caractériser nos pays et l'Afrique. Mais nous savons très bien que ce n'est pas une fatalité.
An endless poverty, unfortunately, this is what seems to characterize our countries in Africa. But you should all know that this is not a fatality. Poverty has never been a fatality for anyone, for individuals as well as communities. What makes poverty last is when we refuse to make the necessary efforts for our own development. We have decided to make a different choice, and we have noticed that it is bearing fruits. The problem is to maintain things this way, while allowing each one of us to benefit from the fruits of our common efforts.
Et le dilemme est de pouvoir garder le cap, tout en permettant à chacun de se sentir concerné en son temps par les fruits de nos efforts communs.
The end of the year's festive period generally rhymes with liquidation of products of all kinds. In Cotonou, in the largest market in Benin, this is the case, or the population is looking forward to this moment in order to make good deals. However, the conditions of sales are not always good for the sellers and traders of Dantokba. We have the report.
In December at the Dantokba market, it is a price festival for all kinds of articles. In order to increase their turnover, the big shops take advantage of this to empty themselves of the year's unsold goods, which they dump on the market and to promote new products. The end of the year festive period is therefore favorable for the sale of clothing, decorative products, foodstuffs, and other items.
Bon, les produits ne sont pas prohibés puisque si tu regardes dans les...
It's not that the products are prohibited, but on the bottle, on some of the perishable products, getting closer to the end of the year, the expiry date sometimes counts down to 2 to 3 months of its expiry. When you look at the bottle, you'd see it's just 2 months to its expiry date. So sometimes, it's the product's lifespan that dictates the price.
Disons, c'est presque en date de péremption, hein. Presque. C'est presque en date de péremption. Nous, nous avons liquidé.
Ils font des liquidations généralement pour vider les magasins afin de faire de nouveaux stocks.
They do the liquidation usually to empty the shop in order to make new stocks of products, or when they realize that the products have not really interested potential customers because of their high cost or quality. So they lower the prices to sell them during the holiday season. Often this is also to avoid losses because the expiry dates are close. In this period, customers go out a lot because of liquidations, because parents have to dress their children, give them toys and good holiday meals. So we do more business than during the year. So even though we complain about the economic gloom, in December we manage to do good business and make our children happy in turn.
Nous arrivons à faire de bonnes affaires et faisons plaisir à nos enfants à notre tour.
Dantagba is full of people in December. The crowds grow as the day and months goes by. In addition to the customers, the vendors number in thousands and have no shortages of strategies for promoting their products. But in this other known to this market in this period, the resellers plead for the competent authorities to facilitate their life.
C'est vraiment difficile.
It is really difficult. Normally, the authorities should give us this month to sell our items for the festival. We bought products last year that we could not sell completely. So this year, let them allow us to do our business in peace and serenity. They allowed us to sell last year. Let it be so again this year. We beg them.
Il y a les policiers qui sont en train de nous disperser. Mais dans le même temps, il y a la Sogema qui distribue les tickets. Pour ces bonnes dames, vous voyez toutes ces bonnes dames qui sont debout là.
There are police officers that disrupt our sales. And sometimes, the market managers selling tickets for space. For those women out here in the market, they have no choice but to get those tickets. From next year, without the tickets, it will be impossible to get a move on sales in this market. And ticket or not, the police sometimes appear and disrupt our market. I see this as a huge injustice. Because if you're going to disrupt our market sales, why are the market managers selling tickets? It is complete injustice. Last year, they stopped us from selling here, but they gave us a space not so far off. And when the police seizes your goods, you got to pay up at the police station before your goods are released. Not everyone has the kind of money to open a private stand. Stands are quite expensive, especially at Tokba. We wouldn't have a lot of stands that need to sell, quite a lot. There are a lot of us here in the market.
Suffisamment cher à Tokba. Donc ceux qui sont des revendeurs là, ils sont trop. Les revendeurs sont trop. Ceux qui n'ont pas de place là, c'est beaucoup. Donc ils n'ont qu'à essayer de nous comprendre.
The holiday season is a time of good business for traders, retailers, and consumers alike. Therefore, it is important that the final recipients of these products pay attention, especially to the basic necessities, as they are often out of date or of doubtful quality.
The Waste Management and Sanitation Company has set its team in motion for the maintenance of some public squares in Cotonou. This is now a priority task involving agents of the company. Charles Lebon explains the reasons for the sanitation campaign and the challenges it faces.
On est là pour la journée de salubrité. Dans le mois, le dernier samedi du mois, on prend pour la journée de salubrité dans chaque zone. Alors on est dans le lot de, à partir du feu Marina, donc la zone du Golfe.
We are here for the Sanitation Day. The last Saturday of each month is dedicated to this day in each area. So today we take care of the area of the Crossroads Marina. Several of my colleagues are in other areas still in the city of Cotonou. But in normal circumstances, we work on Sundays, Tuesdays and Thursdays evening. So we work 3 times a week and we also rest some days of the week. For our own health, we have to take pig milk. We also need to change our clothes and have more equipment to protect ourselves.
Mais en temps normal, il nous faut chaque fois des gants qu'on doit nous changer parce que bon, on est exposé à la poussière, il y a des maladies, des gants, nos habits aussi doivent être changés chaque fin du mois ou bien bon, chaque 3 mois pour ne pas être infecté par les maladies. Par exemple, moi je suis...
To be honest, everything has to be renewed constantly, especially our clothes, because we are exposed to a lot of dust and dirt. Our managers should be more proactive. It is true that in the past, they came to make a report on our working conditions, but since then, we have not had any follow-up. They promised to help us and our children, but until now, nothing. However, we would like to thank them for everything they do. It is not an easy task.
Ils ont promis nous aider aussi nos enfants, et avec les moyens qu'on a, mais actuellement, on ne les a pas encore vus. Nous les remercions infiniment pour leurs efforts. D'abord, nous aider pour les matériaux, bon, les gants, les casques, les outils.
We also have a lot of problems. I just want to mention again the working equipment that has to be changed all the time to keep us in good health. The salaries have to be paid on time. We don't have to wait until the 15th or 20th to be paid, because we have to pay our rent on time and take care of our families as well. Every 2 weeks, we have new brooms in order to better do our work.
Ça dépasse, mais à chaque 2 semaines, on change des balais pour permettre de bien balayer, de bien traiter les rues aussi. Les balais brosses, c'est comme les balais debout pour avantager, pour bien travailler.
Well, hello, good day to all tuned into Golfe TV Africa. Welcome to the African newspaper review on Golfe TV Africa. Now, we'll be talking more about the World Cup, as the World Cup is at its peak. We are getting to the quarterfinals. So this is a sports review on Golfe TV Africa, and let's get to it. We have a couple of interesting, exciting stories, and of course, everybody knows what we want to talk about. We want to talk about the last African nation currently in the Qatar 2022 World Cup. And the front page of the paper says, oh yes, now this is a story to talk about. Only 4 African teams have ever made it to the quarterfinals of the World Cup. We had Senegal, they made it to the World Cup in 2002. We had Cameroon that made it in 1990. We had Ghana that made it in 2010. And now we have this champions, Morocco, making it to the World Cup final. I think they're still used to. Right there, all celebrating as they became the 4th African side to make it to the quarterfinals of the World Cup. And Africa is absolutely buzzing right now. Now let's take a look at some of the headlines that shot up to the top story. We say keeper Yassine Bonu saved 2 sports kick-ass. Morocco stunned Spain to reach first ever quarterfinals. North African set up crunch Portugal clash for semi-final. Sports its first African appearance by an African side in 12 years. Now this is quite exciting. Now Morocco get to play Portugal, Cristiano Ronaldo's Portugal. Let's see how that would end. Does this give Portugal a leap into the semi-finals, or does this give Morocco a leap into the semi-finals? Either way, this is going to be an exciting, absolutely exciting clash in the quarterfinals. Also, page 4, we'll get back to Morocco because, you know, that is where the story is right now. Let's talk about page 4. Page 4 reveals title praises Neymar's technical abilities. Enrique, that's on page 4. Also, Enrique considers Spain's future, thinking is he the right person to lead the Spanish side into the next World Cup, all the competitions, the Nations League, the European League. Also, France breakdown champions can break the champions' course. For a very long time, no team has been able to defend their walk. But I think the last team to have done that was Brazil, and that was very long ago. Also on page 2, coach blames medics over dead boxers. We're having dead boxers in Nigeria. Now, this story is actually coming in from Nigeria, and this has to do with the kind of drugs that boxers take in jest to keep up their physique and keep up their training physiques as well. Also on page 4, we have right there, Southgate challenges England to make history and making it another semi-final appearance in the World Cup. That would be lovely to see. But they have one Kylian Mbappe in their way. And not just Kylian Mbappe, the French side is star-studded. There's Dembele, there's Tchouameni. They have so much players that can live up to the expectation. If Mbappe doesn't turn up on the night, Giroud might come up with some interesting goal to score because he always has them up his sleeves. Now, looking at that, let's look at the top side of the story to see some more stories on the sports review before we get into the technicality and the statistics that we always bring to you. Also, Ramos' hat-trick is Portuguese pummel the sweet side to reach the last 8. That was an exciting match here. Cristiano Ronaldo, all the buzz was talking about Cristiano starting off from the bench. But yeah, they say no Cristiano Ronaldo, no problem, because Ramos can get a hat-trick in his first start for the Portuguese side in a knockout state. It was beautiful. He is a poacher. He's the ideal poacher. I think he's going to start the game versus Morocco. Let's see how that goes. But the Portuguese side are looking quite anxious, looking to make a mark in the World Cup. Finally, they have never won the World Cup. Now let's take a look at some of the pending, some of the trending stories around the world as we get into the nitty-gritty of actions around the world. Now let's take a look at some of the statistics. I tell you, stats is going to go wild and fast right now. Now let's look at some of the games that was played last night. The games played last night were very simple. We had Portugal playing Switzerland, beating that game 6-1. We have that right there. We also have Morocco beating the Spanish side on penalties. We have that right there. Now, what does this mean for the table? This is what it means. It means now that, let's take a look at that. It means now that Netherlands will be playing Argentina on Friday, 8 o'clock. Also, Croatia will be playing Brazil on Friday, 4 p.m. Let's look at that. Also, it means France versus England Saturday by 8 p.m. as well. Saturday, 8 p.m. The match to watch. Also, Morocco versus Portugal Saturday, 4 p.m. This is the round of 16. This is where we've gotten to. The round of 16, Portugal, Morocco, France, England, Brazil, Croatia, Netherlands, Argentina. These are our last 6 teams, the last 8 teams in the quarterfinals of the competition. Now let's take a look at the stats and see if the stats change. All the stats didn't change all too well. Morata is out of the equation. Morata is out of the equation because Saka is still in. Kuki Baku is still in, out of the equation. And all of a sudden, we have a new boy on the list, just like that. Gonzalo Ramos has made it to the top of the list. He is now on 3 goals, equal with Messi in just 1 game, getting a hat-trick in that match. Also, we have Retrouvez and Giroud, Marcus Rashford, and Messi, also players that are capable to add up to the top. Let's look at the assist list. Looking at the assist list, it's changing a little bit. Bruno Fernandes now on 3 assists. Bruno Fernandes of Portugal on 3 assists, and that figure will definitely increase as time goes. Definitely on the assists. Harry Kane as well, and Andrew Vitt of Serbia out. Christian Pulisic out. The rest of the players out, but David Carson is still in it. So we have our favorites, Bruno Fernandes and Harry Kane, top on it. But if you ask me, I think Bruno Fernandes is going to take home the assists later of the tournament. Now let's see how that goes. This is what we have on the statistics. This is what we have in the classroom. Let's see if there's any other top news about the stories. There are some of the top stories coming in right now, talking about Cristiano Ronaldo leaving on time, not celebrating the way he was expected to celebrate, with his colleagues, making it to the quarterfinals of the Champions League. Also on the story, some of the other stories coming in has to be about Morocco. Morocco making history yesterday, getting to the quarterfinals. That was quite exciting. So yeah, these are some of the top stories. Also,
Also, there's a story on Eto having a problem kneeing a fan at the World Cup. He did set out an apology doesn't seem completely like an apology, but he did set out something to talk about that particular stuff. Also, this is all the interesting stories we have currently on the World Cup. Let's take a look at some of the trending topics on Twitter and see what people were saying about the World Cup. Now, this is it, talking about I'm absolutely loving being here and representing my country with a group of lads that I like. They are like my brothers. This is what Jack Grealish has come out to say. Happy for his brothers, you know, happy to be part of the team, happy to be part of the team that is making it to the quarterfinals, hoping to get to the semifinals and also making it to the finals. Let's see some other trending stories. Other trending stories looking at old pictures of Jack Grealish. Moving on from that, the coaches of the tournament, we have Deschamps, we have Louis van Gaal, we have the guy from Morocco, Wally Ragui, all coaches that are ready to make their mark in the World Cup. Lionel Scaloni also there. I see some of the other trending stories, Louis van Gaal talking. Some other trending pictures. A status site yesterday as Morocco made it to the quarterfinals. Look at people happy. This is how Morocco fans celebrated their historic win of the World Cup over Spain. What a night, what a night. This was the game. This was losing 3 penalties, not even getting 1 penalty. It was quite shocking for the side. Also looking at, now it's hard not to look at the stats. Now looking at the stats, these are the stats that we put in Cristiano Ronaldo's face. He cannot hide from them. Because now they're talking about goals in the World Cup knockout. We have Gonzalo Ramos with 3 goals and Cristiano Ronaldo with 0 goals. Now, these are the stats that Cristiano will wake up to and would not be happy to read at all. Now, looking at it, it feels like Cristiano has just become a target. I don't know what's happening. Why is everything about Cristiano Ronaldo? I'm sure he's tired of it. Now, also, Fernandez come out to say, I don't think Cristiano will be happy if the manager put me on the bench in the next game. I will be angry, Bruno Fernandez, on Cristiano Ronaldo being benched. He's come out to say that. That's verified. Also, still on trending stories. Oh, my. We just lost that right there. Well, this is all we have for you on the trending stories. We should move on back to... this is still the Golf Sports Review. I'm Metohuey ADOGLOThursdaydecember. I'm excited for Morocco and for the African side. As the story develops in the World Cup, we'll bring more stories to you. But right now, here's where I say my goodbye, and I'll see you same time tomorrow. Do not forget to dial in. Well, there you have it for our sports review on Golfe TV Africa. Now for more stories across the African continent, we head to the African newspaper review. Now, the African newspaper review will be touching a lot of exciting stories around the African continent. And as usual, we start off with stories coming in straight from Nigeria. Our first paper of the edition is The Punch Nigeria. Now, the front page of The Punch Nigeria reveals, let's take a look at that. It says right there, cash withdrawal limit, sending grills CBN, Central Bank of Nigeria, chiefs tomorrow. Now, POS operators get waiver to pay processing fee, and the Central Bank Deputy Governor faces NAS panel and Senate debates policy next week. Now, CBN says no going back on new cashless policy, allays fears of rural dwellers and others. This is the front page that we have right there. Now, you should know that Naira had changed its color, the color of its notes, and this was as a result of people, rich Nigerians, holding in so much cash, and this did not
work well with the economy of the country, meaning things become a little bit difficult because they are holding in all the cash in the country and now allowing the movement or circulation of cash. And now that the monies have been returned to the Central Bank of Nigeria, Nigeria has returned and is making the new Naira notes available. There's now been a cash limit. This is to inhibit people from spending too much, or rather taking out a lot of cash and keeping it back at home and having the same problem resurface. And now this is actually a great strategy by the CBN governor, Godwin Emefiele, to help keep money in the Central Bank of Nigeria, to keep the cash at home, to keep the power at home. Now looking from that, let's take EFCC auctions for forfeited cars once compliance with guidelines. Well, we have that right there on page 7 of the Punch Nigeria. Now what does this mean? Now when the EFCC gets out and sees a lot of vehicles, they seize all those vehicles from people that have committed crimes, financial crimes. Now these vehicles that have been seized are all in the car park. They are all in the lot. And over time, they accumulate to the point that there's so much cars. Now, what do they do with those cars? They auction these cars off. So it means that a car that is sold that probably costs on the market for about 10 million. You can come to auction and get that car for 4 million, for even 2 million if nobody's interested in the car. But usually, it's privy to people that have, inside knowledge. So there's a little bit of lobby. You need to know who to know to get into such an auctioning deal. Moving on from that, and usually a lot of the EFCC staff themselves are coming to this auction and auction and get these vehicles themselves. Now moving on from that, let's look at the bottom half of the paper. As we touch on polls, INEC knocks Tinubu over comments of e-transmission. We have that on page 2. Also, police launch manhunt for women who burned parents. We have that on page 8. And Lagos-Ibadan Expressway gridlock worsens amid road suspension. We have that on page 4 and 5 of the Punch Nigeria. Moving on from the Punch Nigeria, we head now to the next paper of the edition. Let's take a look at the top hand of the paper as well. So sorry about that. But we still have stories from there. Say contesting the presidency again will diminish me. Jonathan has come out to say he's not coming out to run again as president of the country. He believes his legacy has to stay put, that he's out of it. He wants to remain where he stands, and obviously, as the ex-president of a country, you get to be involved in a lot of regional activities in that particular region, as part of ECOWAS and the African Union as well. Because during the period when we had problems, when there was crisis in Mali, it was left to presidents or ex-president like Goodluck Jonathan and Kenyatta to go out and try and negotiate peace in the other regions. Now also, Empower fraud. ICPC detains the band's lawyer cries foul. Now the band is a Nigerian popster, a big super Nigerian popster that is recognized worldwide. Now papers came out yesterday saying he had been detained over fraudulent acts, as that he had tried to embezzle 100 million naira, $100 million of Nigerian public funds. So we could find out, as the story goes on, we'll find out more about that. Also, Buhari failed the Asharubu. The activist has come out to say what does she feel that Buhari has done that he has failed. You can find out more about that on page 9 of the Punch Nigeria. Moving on from the Punch Nigeria, we head to the next paper of the edition as we touch on the Nation Nigeria. Still bringing you stories coming in from Nigeria, the Nation Nigeria. Let's start off from the top of the paper. It says that 2023 validates Tinubu's candidacy. We have that on page 4 of the Nation Nigeria. Also, petrol scarcity to end soon, says the agency. We have that on page 5 of the Nation Nigeria. Also, 1.9 trillion SUV senators threatening MDAs with zero allocation. The bank and others probe for Empower cash fraud. We have that on page 7 and 6 of the Nation Nigeria. Now moving on from that, we head to the next, looking at the bottom half of the paper. Let's take a look. We have stories. Says federal government account for ecological funds. We have this right there. Cash withdrawals limit policy. Senators experts knock on the CBN, Central Bank of Nigeria. The senators are not happy about Godwin Emefiele's decision to limit cash, because of course politicians have been caught a lot. You catch a lot more politicians on money laundering than actual citizens partaking in money laundering. So yeah, the senators are unhappy about that. They will go ahead to debate that and the House of Assembly and see whether that leads to. Now, Senate falls Apex Bank fixes debate for Tuesday. Job losses boom. SMEs tread thin. SME strengthening good policy, wrong timing, says the expert. We have that on page 4 of the Nation Nigeria. Now moving on from the Nation Nigeria, head to another paper, but this time around leaving Nigeria, we are headed straight to Ghana, touching on the Daily Guide Ghana. Now the front page of the Daily Guide Ghana reveals also a couple of interesting stories. Let's take a look at them. It says NDC broke and Mahama begs for Momo. We have them right there. Mama, former ex-president of Ghana, lost to Akufo-Addo in the 2022 elections. He was very disappointed about that. It was by a very close margin as well on that. Now looking at the middle half of the paper, it says Jack Dorsey, former CEO of Twitter, who sold it recently to Elon Musk, has come out to say Bitcoin will power Africa's future. We can find out more about that on page 6. You can find out if you're interested to find out what he means by that. Also, Development Bank Ghana grabbed CIC certification. We had that on page 9 of the Daily Guide Ghana. Moving on from the Daily Guide Ghana, we had the Star from Kenya. The front page of the Star from Kenya reveals some couple of interesting stories as well. Let's take a look at that to see what we have for you. First, take the Star from Kenya reveals. Storm over plan to scrap boarding schools. Association wants policy held, at least for now, to give rooms for adjustment. We have that on page 4 and 5. Now, why would they want to stop a scrap boarding from school? You can get that on page 4 and 5 of the Star from Kenya. Also, man kills self. That's basically suicide after poisoning, stabbing his 4 children. That is very tragic. There you can get that on page 2 of the Star from Kenya. He committed suicide and killed his children in the act. Very disappointing, tragic story there. Also, security chiefs linked to South Sudan illicit activities. We have that on page 8. Also, Kitangan families hangs Ruto's warrant. We have that on page 24. And of course, we have Riela fires warning to Salvo to Ruto. We have that as well on page 8 of the Star from Kenya. Moving on from the Star from Kenya, we head now to the next paper of the edition as we touch on the Daily News and the Daily Vision. The New Vision Uganda, front page of the New Vision Uganda reveals Magazugo refuses to apologize to Parliament over misconduct. MPs okay, ministers censure process. We have that on page 3. Also, UDF soldiers promoted. We have that on page 3. If you're interested in the military system in Uganda. Let's take a look at the bottom half of the paper. It says First Lady meets new MTN CEO, and what did they discuss and what is it about? Does it have to do with anything social related? How are the people going to gain from that? You can get that on page 4 of the New Vision Uganda. Also, PMB Chief Justice to reconcile. We have a picture of both of them showing, depicting their reconciliation right there. Moving on from that, so we head now to, let's take a look at the sports extra from Nigeria. Now the fourth extra reveals the Burundi's tributes after Eden Hazard's retiring. Now this is Eden Hazard, former Chelsea player, now plays for Real Madrid, Belgium number 10, scoring 33 out of 150 games for Belgium. He has decided to retire after Belgium, the Red Devils of Belgium, lost it and did not make it even to the the round of 16 of the Qatar 2022 World Cup. He has gone on to hang his boot for the national nation. You have that on page 5. And also, like Lions, like Eagles, writing in comparisons between the Super Eagles of Nigeria and the Atlas Lions. I do not see the similarities, but basically, if you want to find out about that, you get that there as well on the Nation, on the Star, on the Extra Sports. Also, Experience Village's Charlton Experience, we have them right there. Also, Infantino hails best group stage ever in Qatar. Mbappe misses France's training ahead of England clash. Ronaldo denies signing of Al-Nassr, a signing that has been rumored to cost as much as 150 million pounds right there. Okay, now let's take a look at that. Now, this is where I say my goodbyes as we come to an end of this edition. The sports review, or rather the newspaper review. I'm Metohuey ADOGLOThursdaydecember, and I say goodbye for now. I'll catch you same time. Welcome back. We're done with the African newspaper review. And so we conclude Thursday's edition of the 1 p.m. English News live from our studios here in Cotonou City. Coming up next is the French newsroom. Now, for more information around the world, you stay tuned to Golfe TV Africa, and whatever thoughts you'd like to share relating to our programs, you can reach our social media handles. You can call the Golfe Commercial Service. Let us know what you think. I'm Metohuey ADOGLOThursdaydecember, and I'll see you same time tomorrow. But goodbye for now. Cheers.